OmniCenter has a couple of different places that alarms come from. Performance data, which is really time series data. This is stuff like CPU, hard drive utilization, um, memory utilization. These are the kind of statistics that we're collecting over time, and we're pulling from those devices and pulling them down into OmniCenter's database on a recurring schedule, saving that as time series data. And alarms based on performance data can be based on either thresholds or anomalies. And we kind of define that as an anomaly is a deviation from previous behavior. So in OmniCenter 9, it's actually defined as a percentage deviation. And in OmniCenter 10, which is coming out later this summer and is in beta right now, the anomaly engine has been reworked to make the anomaly definitions a little bit more flexible. So anomalies are basically looking at past behavior and then seeing if the current behavior looks similar enough or if it looks different enough that it might be an unusual event. So it gives you another way to monitor statistics. So the idea being that if I have a threshold set for 97% CPU utilization on this system, I'm not going to get alarmed if suddenly it's at 20% when normally it would be at 40%. But anomalies can detect that kind of thing and bring those to your attention. The important thing to remember is both thresholds and anomalies, only critical events will generate alarms. So a warning will appear in the web interface, it'll appear in the logs and the history reports, but it will not generate alarms. Service checks is the second alarm source. And service checks are like host alarms or service alarms or like a process running on a system, for example. So they're basically binary status data. And the result of the service check is really, it's trinary, not binary, because it's okay warning or critical. And service checks are also automatically dependent on host status. So for example, if I'm checking the status of a process running on a Windows server, I'm not going to get a process alarm if the Windows server goes down because that dependency will automatically be detected and handled by OmniCenter. Service checks will generate alarms for either warning or critical statuses. So any non-OK state will generate an alarm from a service check. And this is basically because we're thinking that if you're specifically monitoring a process, for example, or monitoring to see if a web server is returning a page or if the DNS server is returning a valid DNS entry, that's probably a higher priority issue than if the CPU utilization looks a little high. So we generate alarms more sensitively against service checks than we do on performance data.